Hi, so we're going to look at this tool, Enlighten AI, and I'm going to break this down into a few different sections so that you can just watch a little bit at a time if you need to. But one thing that we first started when we were doing this presentation, we had this discussion on a time when you got better at something with practice. So how often did you practice? What made it effective? And how did you know you had gotten better? So I'd encourage you, pause the video, think about some of those things. Think about something that you got better at with practice and think about the answers to those questions. One teacher had shared with us batting practice for softball. She wanted to get better at hitting and even just making contact with the ball. So she needed to participate in batting practice. So after practice, she would continue and stay hitting in the batting cages, just practicing her swing, making contact with the ball. And obviously, doing that frequent of practice and identifying what she needed to improve on or work on, the results were going to be that she was making better contact with the ball. And this led her to be able to transfer those skills into the game. Now, if she had said, oh man, I really want to get better at batting, so the next time I go up to bat, I'm going to make contact with the ball. That's my goal. Well, if the only at-bats she gets are in the game, when it really counts, she's not going to improve at all. It's so infrequent. So having that practice is going to solidify those skills so that you can be effective when it comes to the real assessment. So these videos will be broken down into three things. So we'll look at this tool called Enlighten AI as a personalized AI grading assistant. So that's for you being able to grade student submissions and being able to give them feedback immediately. Second is an immediate feedback assistant, and this is for students and for them to be able to submit work and get that feedback immediately so that they can continue revising. And then finally, an aid for you to generate teaching and reteaching resources based off the data that it receives from analyzing student work. So as you think back on your practice experience, I would like to ask you to consider comparing and contrasting the practice that students get in writing to your experience. How are they similar or different? And then thinking about the impact of improving the quantity and quality of student practice in writing. What effects would this have on students? So I'd encourage you, again, to pause the video, take a moment to think about that. Well, I'm thinking that if you're like most of us, you'll realize that our students don't get a lot of practice in writing. Maybe they practice, but they might not be getting that feedback that they need frequently and timely, right? Like if they're writing when it comes to being in the game, right? That's when they're getting their feedback. For the most part, it's too late, right? They needed to get those skills built up as they get to that at bat in the game. So I think, two, what's the quality of the feedback that students get? Is this me going to batting practice without a bat and a ball, just taking some swings? Because that might not be the most effective. Right? I'm going to need the bat. I'm going to need the ball. Sure, maybe there's some things in just swinging, right, that I can work on. But to really get the full thing, I need all of those pieces. So if our students aren't getting that, they're not going to grow as effectively in their writing journey. So what would be the impact if we gave them more practice, more opportunities, but then the quality of practice is better, meaning that they're getting more immediate feedback that is specific and timely and actionable. Hopefully that would help them improve their skills at a significant pace and keep them engaged in the writing process. So let's take a moment to look at research. So there's been a few different studies on research. On different learning strategies and just about feedback and things like that. And one that you may have heard mostly about is visible learning by John Hattie, but there's a couple others here as well. But feedback has doubled the effect of most educational strategies, right? So it's like feedback should be one of the highest strategies that we use because it has the most benefit. However, if it's going to also cause us to take the most time and not allow us to do other things, then maybe it's not as effective as it should be. But if we can make our feedback specific, actionable, and timely, it's going to be something that can be utilized right away. So we want to enable these frequent high-quality at-bats with feedback. We want to give our students really good opportunities to get feedback on their writing so that they can grow, right? If they only get opportunities once a quarter or maybe even once a month with not immediate feedback, they're not going to get better at the pace we want them to. So being able to give that amount of feedback or that level of feedback, it's hard, especially in writing, right? So this statistic right here, 20 hours needed to grade 120 student essays. So that's looking more at the high school level, where essays are a bit longer. But that's still a lot of time, especially if you, that's usually taking place out of class time, out of your school time, right? And so then we think about, okay, how quick do I get that back to students? Is it the next day that they're getting that detailed feedback, or is it the next week? What are they doing with that writing piece? Is there any revision that needs to be done? Or is there just a grade? Hey, and do this next time. If there's no actionable steps, that feedback isn't going to be effective for students, because when's the next time they're going to use that feedback? Probably in a month or two, when there's a new writing assignment and it's gone, right? Like if I went and did a couple swings, couple at-bats, and you told me, hey, next time, make sure you do this. Well, 2 months later, I'm not going to remember that. My body's not going to be used to that or have developed that, so it's not going to be as effective. So I think about that too. We might spend so much time focusing on feedback, but then it's still not being used. So then that leads the question, is it worth it? Well, I think that it is worth it if we can make it efficient, and that's where solution number 1 comes into play.